Alright, I'm out at Mills Park, just north of Salt Lake City, for the first tutorial video using C1x. Let's jump into it. Alright, so for anyone who's found this video, I assume you're at least aware of what C1x is. Maybe you found it through the link in the app, maybe you just found it on the C1x YouTube channel. But long story short, C1x is a disc golf stat keeping app that I built. I had a lot of requests in Throw with the Pros, the first disc golf app I built, for a tutorial video. Thought I'd get ahead of the curve and go ahead and film one for C1x. I'm going to be doing this today in version 0.0.3. It should be live by the time anyone actually finds this video, but by the time you find this video, that might also be outdated. Everything that we're going to go through today is largely going to be unchanged. Things might look a little different, but how you go through adding a course, scoring a round, and seeing your stats at the end of that round are all going to be relatively similar. So we'll start with how to add a course. I'm going to jump behind the camera, and then we'll start throwing. Alright, so for anyone who opens up C1x for the first time, right after you download it, this is what it's going to look like. We've got an example round here. This is just kind of show you what a round summary in C1x will look like once you're done. Gives you a rough idea. This is scrollable, there's more information down below, but we'll get to that at the end. So the first thing we need to do is we need to add a course. So to add a course, we're going to go to this courses button down here. That immediately takes you to the add a course menu. Type course name up above. I'm just going to call it Mills. Hit done. Mills is only a 12-hole course, so we're going to lower this to 12 holes. And now this list automatically updates. It starts everything at a par 3, and Mills Park is a par 3 course. No par 4s or 5s, so we're basically done. Last item is this 1,000 rated. If you tap the info, what score do you think a 1,000 rated player would shoot on this course? For Mills Park, I'm going to say it's probably maybe 8 under. 8 under might get you a 1,000 rating out here. Maybe a little bit lower, but we'll stick with 8. This number does not change how your stats are calculated at all. It's just for my purposes only, so that down the road I can maybe code in some additional insights for players based on how they perform at courses of certain difficulty levels. But that's it. So we type in Mills 12 holes. We don't have to change any of the pars. Add in that 1,000 rated, and then we hit confirm at the bottom. And now, if we click start round, we can see that Mills is available there for selection. So that's it. We'll hit confirm, and now it's time to score. So the way this works is that after every throw, you just tap where it lands. It's intended to be very simple. You can do this after every single throw. What I like to do, just to pull out my phone a little bit less, is just to do it at the end of every hole. So what I'm going to do now is we're going to film shots. After each hole, I'll step behind the camera again, and I'll select where my drives land. You'll see kind of how the app prompts you to get the information it needs. We'll do that for the whole round, and then at the end of it, we'll go through what the stats look like. So let's start throwing. All right, hole 1, par 3. You can see the basket up there on the right. It is early morning, so don't judge my disc golf too much. We got a putt. All right, actually went a little deep. Got maybe a 22 footer here for birdie. All right, good start. Let's jump behind and score it. All right, so we got hole 1 here. Our first drive landed inside of circle 1, so we're going to tap circle 1. Distance from the basket, so it's asking how far away I landed. I think definitely in this 11 to 22 foot range, maybe a little bit shorter than the 22 feet I said earlier. So we're going to tap that, and then our next shot went in the basket. So we just tap basket, and that's it. Score 1 under. Now we're on to hole 2. All right, hole 2. This one's definitely a forehand hole, but I don't want to throw a forehand. So I'm going to try and go turn over through these trees down the middle. Fade it left, can't see the basket, it's not a good hole to film. I think too much turn. Alright, actually landed in the sand volleyball court. I don't think that we usually play this as hazard, but it'll help me in scoring for the app, so we're going to do it. post. All right, so we're gonna say same volleyball court was a hazard. We got this tap in for our bogey. Now let's score it. All right, so Mills Park hole 2. First drive landed in the hazard area in the sand volleyball court, so we're gonna tap penalty. It's gonna say, where is your new lie after the penalty? We were in the hazard, we didn't move at all. Definitely wouldn't call it the rough, so I'm gonna say it's the fairway. Actually, we were probably on the edge of circle 2 there. I think I was in circle 2. So we're gonna tap circle 2, definitely at the back end of circle 2. And then we missed that circle 2 putt, so our next shot landed in circle 1, inside of 11 feet, and then in the basket. So that's it, we took a bogey, we're back to even through hole 3. I'm gonna stop introducing holes, we'll keep this moving. I think everyone kind of gets the idea. So I'll throw the shots, we'll score, and then we'll come back and talk about stats at the end. I'm gonna call the path OB. All right, so moved to some shade here, but that was a sad finish. 6 down through 12 though. Before I jump into the stats, there's a couple things I want to talk about first that I forgot about earlier. So the first is, let's say you hit the wrong button and you throw or tap a shot that doesn't actually match where you landed. This little trash can icon up here, if you tap that, that pulls up the options menu. One of those is to undo. So if I hit undo, it takes me back to the last shot. So we can do it again and again and again. Now we're back on hole 12 throwing from the tee. So you can do that throughout the whole round if you want to. There's also a delete round option if you need to just scratch around and start over. But we'll enter this one back. Missed our C1 putt and then tapped in for par. So now that we're there, the next thing is to hit finish round. That takes us to stats. Some things that might change in C1X. I'll come around the front of the camera for this one. All right, awkward transition, but this is C1X in alpha version still. When the video comes out, it's still going to be an alpha version. Launch is probably at least a couple months away. Some things that will change in C1X after this tutorial video comes out, just so you're aware of how they're going to work. First is when you're adding a course. So right now it just asks you for number of holes, par, and that 1,000 rated score. Very soon, probably around the same time that this tutorial video comes out, it's also going to let you enter in distances, maybe select some relative hole difficulties. That's all going to be for my usage in displaying stat analytics to you as the user. Obviously, adding a hole distance isn't going to affect your C1 in regulation or C1X putting percentage or anything like that. So it's not going to affect the stats you see in the app right now, but it will be useful for me down the road as I try to give users and myself using the app more insight into how our game looks. So that's one thing. Important to note though that as I add distances, relative hole difficulties, etc., again, it's not required. So you can still go in there, even if it has a spot for you to put in your distance. You can just select number of holes, hole par, and that 1,000 rated score, and you're good. You don't even have to hit the 1,000 rated score if you don't want to. It automatically defaults to even. So if that's not something you care about, number of holes, hole pars, type in a course name, you're done. That'll always be true in C1X. Other changes, something that is going to come to C1X is a watch app. So I wear an Apple Watch. I would love to be able to keep my stats on this watch during a round, not even need to take my phone out. That's something that's going to come with C1X. When you're scorekeeping, it's going to look very similar to how it looks on a phone. Obviously, I've got less space to work with, so that's going to look a little bit different, but it's still going to be tapping buttons based on where you land. And then the idea is that after you're done scoring, the watch will send the data to your phone so you can view your stats. That's something that is definitely a little further down the road, but probably won't get its own tutorial video just because it's going to work basically the same as the phone. I may do a video either way. You're going to have some design changes always throughout the lifetime of the app. I don't think there's any other big changes that I'd be aware of. I'll jump back behind the camera. We'll run through the stats breakdown from our round, and if I think of anything else in the meantime, I'll say it. All right, so I started filming and then a plane flew overhead. I tapped the finish round button on our scorecard, and that takes you directly to the screen. So here we get our stats breakdown. You can see we got the first 9 holes up here, last 3 down below. If you play a course with more than 18 holes, this will swipe left and right to let you see them, but obviously not the case here. Down below, we've got our C1X putting, C1 in regulation, C2 in regulation, C2 putting, fairway hits, and scramble percentages. It's kind of why I was excited to have that sand volleyball court count as a hazard, because we got our bogey score here, add a little variety onto the scorecard. This is the basic view for your round summary. This also scrolls down and gives you a whole bunch more stats. So I know, don't laugh, the graphics look a little goofy right now. I haven't updated them since the very first version of the app. But this will give you a hole by hole breakdown, kind of like what you would see on a UDisc or PDGA Live or any golf score keepers. But we've got driving, greens in regulation, C1, C2 putting, scramble, and penalty strokes. We keep scrolling down, we get a breakdown of a whole bunch of other stats. We got frequencies of hole scores. We've got bounce back rates, so I got a birdie right after the bogey. That was good. longest C1 make streak, birdie streak. C2 bonus is that stat that I think Nate Sexton came up with at some point, which was number of C2 makes minus C1 misses. And obviously I missed that C1 putt at the end. Didn't make any C2 putts, so we're at -1 there. Parked 4 out of the 12 holes. That's indicated up here as well. If you hit this little help icon in the top right, that gives you a breakdown of what the different graphics mean down below. But yeah, so this is your round summary. Another feature in C1x is you can view your stats over time. So if we tap this icon in the top right on the main menu, oh, there we go. This will give you all your stats over the last 5 rounds, 20 rounds, and all time. And this is just like that list we saw at the bottom of the last screen. So there'll eventually be filters on the screen to let you sort by different courses, different time frames, etc. But this is where it's at right now. So your last 3 rounds are always going to be shown on the main menu. If you want to see more rounds in the past than just those last 3, you just tap all rounds at the bottom. They'll all show up here. And I think that's about it for C1x. You get tutorials on some of the screens. They're not popping up because I've already used the app a little bit, but there's a reset option in here at the bottom. You can tap that. If you have any feedback about the app, click that give feedback button. It'll take you to an anonymous Google survey. I would greatly appreciate it. But yeah, that's about it for the C1x tutorial. Looking forward to continue building it and hope you guys like using it. Send me feedback and we'll see you in the next one.